All right, everyone, time for weather where you are. We have a lot to cover. There's going to be a lot of weather where you are the next couple of days because of a handful of things. We have a front that's over us right now, which is actually playing a role in our impacts from Idalia. We're going to talk about the storms on the way. We do have a first alert for today and tomorrow because of higher storm coverage. That'll definitely impact your commute in some way. And of course, as the title says, we are going to go over everything with Tropical Storm Idalia. I'll let you know where it's headed, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We actually just got a new advisory in not too long ago. And we'll talk about the potential impacts here at home. So you're going to want to tune in and pay attention because there's just a lot to cover as we head through the next couple of days. We're first going to start with today because, again, our weather today actually is going to influence what Idalia will bring to North Georgia as we head into Wednesday. So as we head towards 2 o'clock, you're picking up the kids from school. Maybe they're going to be doing some after school activities. Rain coverage will increase as we head towards 2, 3 o'clock and then become even more widespread for the evening commute later tonight. Here's 6 p.m. And within all of the activity that'll redevelop again along a front that's draped over the area later tonight, definitely could experience some very heavy rain that will make visibility lower when you're driving home on the roadways. We also could have an isolated strong to severe storm with damaging wind, heavy rain, and frequent lightning, but expect a very rainy commute home for a lot of us. This could lead to some more flash flooding. We did have an issue with flash flooding earlier this morning, especially over in Morgan and Walton counties and parts of DeKalb County on I-85. That could be a possibility again tonight as we expect more heavy rain to move in and continue even past sunset. So some rumbles of thunder definitely possible as you're laying down for bed later this evening. Again, we could have an isolated strong to severe storm. Gusty wind, heavy rain, frequent lightning will be the threats. All of the area underneath a marginal or level 1 of 5 threat. That just means that an isolated strong to severe storm will be possible. It's going to be a little cooler today because of the rain, so temperatures will generally be near 90. We keep our first alert for tomorrow as well, as again, that front is going to kind of make itself at home here across Georgia, and that's going to serve as a focal point for showers and storms. And since it's pretty much going to drape over I-85. That's, of course, right over our area. So Metro Atlanta is going to be pretty soggy the next couple of days. Wednesday is the day that we're going to watch for some potential impacts from Idalia. We could have a few of the outermost rain bands from the system, but overall our impacts look minimal. And then take a look beyond that. Our rain chances go to 0 Thursday through the weekend. So if you're trying to think about Labor Day weekend, it's actually going to be really nice here in North Georgia. So we do have some good news. We just got to get over a pretty bumpy start to the work week in the weather department with the rain and storms today and tomorrow. And then, of course, as Idalia kind of scoots off to our south. So let's talk about it. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Idalia. This is as of the 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We'll get another in a few hours. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on that both here on ANF Plus, also on the First Alert weather app, atlantanewsfirst.com. We have lots of resources for you to stay tuned to the forecast. And I suggest you do because there could still be some changes. The storm has had a really tough time organizing, and the way I like to put it is when models don't know where to start, when they don't know where the starting line is, how are you supposed to know how to get to the finish line, right? So right now this storm is becoming a little more organized, but it's really had some trouble kind of getting its act together and finding that focal point of a center of circulation. So there still could be some tweaks, but still looking very minimal for us when it comes to our impacts. This is currently just to the south of the western tip of Cuba, so there are hurricane warnings in effect there, as this is expected to strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane by tonight. And then it's going to move into the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico is a hot tub right now, and warm water is fuel for tropical systems. They need that warm water in order to grow strong, and that's exactly what the Gulf is going to do, is help grow this hurricane extremely strong into a major Category 3 hurricane before landfall somewhere in the Big Bend of Florida. The towns down there are fairly small. You have places like Cedar Key. This is west of Gainesville. This is kind of in between Tampa and Panama City Beach, but that's where this is expected to make landfall. However, this cone of uncertainty does show there is some wiggle room, so this could make a landfall in Tampa. It could also make a landfall closer to Panama City. It's all going to depend on where our front sets up. Again, that front is going to kind of steer this storm, and I'll show you what I mean by that with Futurecast in just a second. But if you have family and friends who live in North Florida, in the Jacksonville area, in South Georgia, like Valdosta or Waycross, even up through Savannah and Myrtle Beach, you'll want to make sure that they know to pay attention to the forecast. Also important to note, as we go through hurricane season, the forecast cone shows where the center of circulation could go. It doesn't necessarily, and it doesn't mean that that's how far the impacts are going to extend out. Impacts from tropical systems, hurricanes, tropical storms can go well outside the forecast cone. So really important. Some people sometimes say, oh, okay, it's going to go right through the Big Bend of Florida. We're good. Well, this storm is going to be a pretty large storm. So if you have friends and family, again, who live in the central Florida area, who live along the panhandle of Florida, they still will be impacted in some way by this storm because impacts, again, do go well outside the cone. Even though our impacts will be minimal, that's just a friendly reminder as we head through hurricane season. It will pass through South Georgia as a Category 1 hurricane before weakening into a tropical storm as we head into Thursday morning. It's going to kind of ride up the coast and go back out over the open Atlantic. So let's take you through Futurecast. Again, we have this stalled boundary over us right now. That's going to leave us stormy today and tomorrow, particularly in the afternoon. So prepare for a messy commute home. At this point, this storm is a Category 3, a major Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds at its core of 115 miles per hour. A storm surge will be likely along the Gulf Coast of Florida as well. And then it's going to move inland through the morning on Wednesday. So this is kind of around sunrise that this storm will start to move again inland. And this is just one particular model. But notice how it rides along that front. That front is going to serve kind of like a block from that storm. It's going to push it out of the way and to our south. And again, if that front was to lift a little further north, that would nudge the track a little further west and our impacts would be a little greater. If it pushes a little further south, then it would push the storm more to the east, make our impacts even less. But right now, it's been pretty consistent that this storm is going to sink by to our south and really give us minimal impact, and that front is to thank for it. Again, it's going to serve kind of like a block from that storm moving any further north and kind of steer it up the Atlantic coast. We'll have a few rain bands possible Wednesday from the storm, the outermost rain bands, and rain bands in tropical systems will carry very heavy tropical downpours, but that's about the extent of our impacts. We could have, again, a few brief tropical downpours, but that's really all we're looking at, and that would be Wednesday, by the way. Here's a look at rain potential for just Wednesday. This goes into really Thursday morning, but by Thursday morning, it's going to be making its way into the Carolinas. But take a look, all of the heavy rain, we're talking over 5 inches of rain possible through North Florida into South Georgia, even parts of Central Georgia. Here at home on Wednesday, we're looking anywhere between like a trace of rain to maybe a quarter of an inch of rain, with our highest totals out in parts of East Georgia and down towards Putnam County and Eatonton. You could pick up maybe half an inch to an inch of rain. And locally, heavy amounts will be possible just because of the nature of those tropical downpours. But general consensus for the area on Wednesday will be about a quarter of an inch to maybe half an inch of rain. Most of our rain is going to come from the afternoon thunderstorms today and tomorrow along that front. So that'll actually have a greater impact on our forecast than tropical storm, eventually Hurricane Idalia, will have. When it comes to wind, tropical storm force winds are not likely here. Here's a look at a product from the National Hurricane Center that shows you the likelihood of 40-mile-per-hour winds, which is tropical storm force. Tropical storm force is 39 miles per hour or higher, but kind of rounded up to 40. Either way, that's obviously likely along the Big Bend of Florida, Jacksonville, and notice Savannah even has a 50-50 shot of experiencing tropical storm force winds. Here in Atlanta, a very low threat for that. The more south you go, the closer to that center of circulation you are, the greater your impact will be. But again, still not necessarily looking at tropical storm force. It's simply going to be breezy. We're talking winds anywhere between 20 to 25 miles per hour. That's what we're really going to look for. Wind gusts 20 to 25 miles per hour, which honestly will probably feel pretty pleasant. It's going to be cloudy because we'll have the big cloud shield from the storm passing to our south. It's going to be breezy. It'll be a little cooler in the 80s. So Wednesday for us will actually shape up pretty pleasant if this storm passes by over to our south and east. So here's kind of a look at our impacts right now. Now again, this could change It's not likely going to change in a drastic way, but you still want to stay tuned to the forecast. This is what we're looking at right now. A wind anywhere between 20 to 25 mile per hour gusts, so that's not going to cause any kind of wind damage for us here. Might, shake around your trash cans if it's your trash day on Wednesday, but that's really about it. Rain about a quarter to a half an inch. Just on Wednesday, we could pick up about an inch and a half of rain with locally heavy amounts. This morning alone, some of our rain dropped over 7 inches of rain in parts of Morgan County, so we could have some locally heavy amounts just from the tropical downpours, the nature of it on Wednesday. And severe weather is not expected for us. That's all found on the east side of those storms. The right side of tropical systems is where you find the severe weather. We're not going to be there. We're actually going to be on the backside of tropical systems. And when you're on the backside of lows, you actually get sinking air. They rotate counterclockwise. So when you're on the backside, you actually get something called subsidence, which is sinking air, which leaves you a little drier and a little more pleasant. So we're actually shaping up pretty nice. That front is really going to be the culprit for any of our nasty weather over the next couple of days. So again, severe weather not expected for us, but it's still important to stay tuned to the forecast. If any kind of shift in the track happens, that could impact our forecast either in a good way by making our impacts even less than what they are, or making them a little greater. But right now, again, the concern for a direct impact for any kind of tropical storm or hurricane force conditions is going to be along the Gulf Coast of Florida, particularly in the Big Bend, all the way down to Tampa, and then through North Florida, like Jacksonville, into parts of Waycross and Valdosta, Georgia, into Savannah. So that's really where the greatest impact lies. Here in North Georgia, we're kind of skating by nicely. In fact, we're more than likely going to drop the first alert on Wednesday. We kind of wanted to give you a heads up that we were watching it very carefully, and there was so much uncertainty that we wanted to make sure that we highlighted Wednesday. But right now, we're becoming more confident it's going to be a non-issue for us. But again, you'll want to just stay tuned to the forecast through the day. Today, near 90, upper 80s. Tuesday with the first alert for storms, widespread storms that will make your evening commute a little on the messy side. You're definitely going to want to just pack your patience on the roads. Could have an isolated severe storm this afternoon as well. As we head into Wednesday, we're going to be watching Idalia, but really we're going to watch it skirt by to our south. So that's the best news we can have. It'll be breezy. We could get a few of the outermost rain bands. Otherwise, expect kind of an overcast and breezy day with temperatures only in the mid 80s. That'll actually probably be refreshing after being in the upper 90s over the weekend. And then as we head through the rest of the week, we have mid to upper 80s, really, really nice weather. And that does look to extend even into Labor Day. So if you have any Labor Day plans, you're thinking about Labor Day, then right now you have the green light on your plans because the weather looks great here across the southeast. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We will continue to get advisories from the National Hurricane Center throughout the day today, and we'll be sure to update you on those again here on Atlanta News First. Plus, also in the First Alert Weather app, we have a whole story on Idalia, specifically on Idalia for you to look at, so you can kind of stay tuned to the forecast. But again, thankfully here in North Georgia, our impacts look minimal from this system as it passes by to our south, but we will still watch it very carefully for you. Make it a great Monday.